Okay, I'm live now. I'm sort of doing an experiment. I am live on Facebook while I'm recording a Zoom teaching. And I want to see how this goes. So it's probably not too useful for me to watch myself on Facebook live while recording, but I'm going to just see if that's possible. Okay, people are watching. If you can see it and it's working out, just let me know. And I'm just going to teach. I'm going to share some thoughts here, and I'll ignore the Facebook thing for a while, and I'll see how it goes. So much of what's happening right now, I feel, is the foreshadowing of what is yet to come, because we have Saturn in Aquarius currently squaring Uranus and Taurus. But this square is just like, it's almost like a preview of the episode. When Saturn goes back into Capricorn and Uranus keeps on going direct, like their orb is going to widen. They're an out of sign square. And so it's almost like something emerges and then it comes back again. And I've been thinking a lot about this, just the energy of Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn and Aquarius. And they're going to come together at the end of this year and dance in this last quarter square for almost 2 years, because of Uranus going retrograde and direct while Saturn goes retrograde and direct. They actually they stay in this dance up until 17, 18 degrees Aquarius Taurus. So if you have any planets anywhere from the early degrees Aquarius Taurus till almost 20 degrees, they're all going to be super activated for the next couple of years. And Saturn and Aquarius, of course, anywhere where we have Saturn, we're restructuring, we're disciplining. And so there's something very promising about Saturn, because Saturn is very solution oriented. Saturn always says there's something tangible that we can work with. We're not left in the dark here, but it takes discipline, it takes thoughtfulness. And the thoughtfulness with Saturn and Aquarius is, of course, higher thoughtfulness. We need to be willing to think outside of the constructs and the systems that we're so familiar with. And one of the things about Saturn is it does symbolize the notion of capitalism. Saturn itself represents the structural reality, the climate of the world that we live in, what is normal. And we have to be able to rethink this. And squaring Uranus and Taurus, it's all about survival. It's all about how are we coming together and acknowledging our cooperation, our connection here on this planet in a way that's either supporting groups of people to the exclusion of others, or is really thinking intelligently that if you're thriving at your maximum, I'm going to be thriving at my maximum. When we work with Aquarian and Uranian energies, it includes this principle that life is designed that we all do better when we all do better. This is team thinking. It's inclusive and holistic thinking. There's this teaching that I've come across once, that a family system creates a very healthy and flourishing environment, because in a family you have all these individuals, different individualities with different needs. And being able to acknowledge and connect with and support all those needs creates an environment of diversity that, by its very nature, creates a space for more thriving and possibilities, community and connection that wouldn't otherwise exist if there was a more monotone level of needs, or if everyone had the same kind of needs and we're all kind of the same kind of person. But the fact of all being different and all living in such circumstances and having very different kinds of needs and preferences and different evolutionary trajectories, it creates this space, if we open our heart and our minds to accommodate to that, we end up creating a world and an environment that is far more inclusive and holistic and nourishing and supportive for all of us than we would have otherwise realized just on our own. We do better together when we get it together. When we try to get it together just ourselves, but we create a vacuum, we don't thrive as deeply as we could. Now, there's an interesting notion here, because also we have simultaneously this understanding of the entire universe exists within. That's also an Aquarian Uranus teaching. The micro and the macro, the large and the small, the inner and the outer. And so if we appreciate and give respect to the most vulnerable and maybe outcast parts of our community, we don't have to look very far. This is not about choosing arbitrarily or just kind of mentally picking something to get involved with. When I speak about community, I'm speaking about what is awake and alive in your world right now. Start with what's real for you, your family, your friends, the people around you. That is your community. It's a natural phenomenon. It's like it's in place. You don't have to make it. You don't have to look for it. Your trees, your plants. The more we just allow ourselves to settle into it, we'll notice, oh, this is what my community is. And by giving attention to these elements, inherently we're giving attention to these elements inside of ourselves. And the same goes in the other direction. By noticing the parts of ourselves that tend to be ignored or neglected, we bring it up. We say, I'm going to celebrate you. I'm going to give attention to these aspects. And Saturn is saying this is discipline. This is going to be hard. It's not about it being easy. It takes work. But it doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be heavy and burdensome. That would then be a sign to stop and slow down and re-look at this stuff. But it's work. To bring attention to what hasn't really been cared for is something that requires a training of the mind to entrain new patterns, new habits. It's like not reacting negatively to a person who tends to bother you. Is to choose a more compassionate, kind, gentle, forgiving, permissive attitude. And so I'm like working on this in my own self. I'm just finding these little places that I've tended to neglect in my own life, except for times when I really have to get it together, right? But this is a time to get it together. And if we can open our hearts and our minds and be wise and introspective and quiet to just look at what's really going on in the world, it does inspire a certain level of motivation and maturity to bring greater growth and strength and development, strengthening to the parts of our lives that have not been honored, that have not been included in our little team, right? In our own lives and in the world around us, in our immediate communities. This is a foundation for understanding what it really means to get it together, and to also understand that it's all inside of ourselves. And this is the path to really bringing out a better world. We are each uniquely designed and wired in virtue of being whole within ourselves to come upon the realizations and the insights and the unique perspective that is aligned with our individual nature that no one else could have. And when we awaken to that perspective, we bring forth a solution. We bring forth an idea, something that elevates all of us, where otherwise it felt like, you got 10 people in the kitchen and they all got different dietary needs. How are you going to work it out? And then you come along and you come up with this wonderful solution. And the solution arises because you weren't seeing a conflict. You were seeing with an open mind, an open heart. And a thought, a clear thought, a true thought arose for you. And this thought resonates with inclusion. This thought resonates with possibility. This thought resonates with the universe that sees there's so much potential, so much goodness, and we are just touching the surface. So we do our work and we bring so many gifts to one another through that. And I think the acceleration of new paradigms and new growth are really promised with this transit. I was reading recently, I forgot the man's name, I'll put it in the link somewhere, this beautiful teaching of this, from one perspective, you can say life is perfect. You can also say it's not perfect, that there's always something to improve in ourselves, in the world. But we can also acknowledge that it is thus getting more perfect. We're constantly cultivating the terrain to make it better, healthier, more livable, more functional, more inclusive for ourselves and for all. And so perfection being this thing that we can constantly move towards, it's an ever expanding vista of growth and possibility. And from an Aquarian point of view, not like a Virgo Piscean point of view, but from an Aquarian point of view, we're just touching the surface of the surface of the surface. The potential for such a better life is right in front of us. All right. Much love and wellness and peace to all of us at this time.